6:15. This is the Radio Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Lavani Vichiyatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. IMF plans to visit Sri Lanka next week. The opposition leader is ready for discussions with the president. An extraordinary gazette notification relevant to deployment of members of the armed forces released. Registration of farmers who cultivate maize for the Maha season this year and the next has already been implemented. A plan to establish mobile voting centers. In news overseas, Putin says Russia to allow inspectors at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Those were the headlines, and now more of the details of the local news. The International Monetary Fund announced that an IMF staff team plans to visit Colombo during the 24th to the 31st of this month to continue discussions with the Sri Lankan authorities on economic and financial reforms and policies. The team will be led by Mr. Peter Brewer and Mr. Mozahiro Nozaki, who led the IMF mission to Colombo in June this year. The objective is to make progress towards reaching a staff-level agreement on the prospective IMF Extended Fund Facility EFF arranged in the near future. Because Sri Lanka's public debt is assessed as unsustainable, approval by the IMF Executive Board of the EFF program would require adequate assurance by Sri Lanka's creditors that the debt sustainability will be restored, the IMF said. The IMF staff would also continue the engagement with the other stakeholders during this visit, the statement said. The leader of the opposition party, Sajith Premadasa, says that he is ready to discuss with the president again in order to build the country through a good reform process. The opposition leader disclosed this at a special meeting of the Scholars Union of Reforms yesterday at the opposition leader's office in Colombo, and the program for building the country from the existing situation was discussed at length. The opposition leader said that his aim is to build the country by intervening in practice instead of getting the privileges. Mr. Premadasa said he will create a program that supports the positive and progressive proposals brought by the government and will never betray the thoughts and wishes of the people. The opposition leader said that he would never contribute to destroy the remaining dollars by getting any ministerial position, and stressed that there is no need for positions to build the country, which has collapsed in all the fields at the moment. An extraordinary gazette notification relevant to the deployment of the members of the armed forces for the security of the people has been released. This decision has been taken according to the powers vested with the President by the Public Security Ordinance. Permission has been given to deploy members of the 3 armed forces for the security of the 25 administrative districts. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. Registration of farmers who cultivate maize for the Maha season this year and the next has already been implemented under the Chemical Fertilizer Distribution Program. Commissioner General of Agrarian Development Board, AHML Ameratha, said that the registration will be conducted online. Information should be provided through the website www.agrarian.lk. Opportunities will be available for the registration until the 31st of this month. Meanwhile, the second part of the urea fertilizer stock granted under the Indian credit line has arrived at the Colombo harbour. The Ministry of Agriculture says the stocks include 21,000 metric tons of urea. The fertilizer will be distributed to the agrarian service centres within the next few days. Chairman of the Elections Commission lawyer Nimal Punchiheva says that the attention has been paid on establishing mobile voting centres to cast votes. The aim of this move is to safeguard the voting rights of the disabled individuals who cannot visit the polling stations. Their voting rights are confirmed by visiting their houses. He made these remarks while participating in a ceremony held at the SLFI in Colombo this afternoon. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. IMF staff plans to visit Sri Lanka next week. Opposition leader is ready for the discussion with the president. An extraordinary gazette notification relevant to the deployment of members of the armed forces released. Registration of farmers who cultivate maize for the Maha season this year and the next has already been implemented. A plan to establish mobile voting centres. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this evening. The Consumer Affairs Authority has stipulated a maximum retail price on the eggs with effect from yesterday. Accordingly, the price of a white egg is now 43 rupees, while the price of a brown egg stands at 45 rupees. This was announced in a special gazette notification published by the Consumer Affairs Authority Chairman Shantha Niriyalla, acting under the powers vested by the CCCA Act No. 9 of the year 2002. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
Moving on to Watchlight, the police are seeking the public assistance to identify the 50 individuals who forcibly entered the temple trees in Colombo and damaged the properties on the 9th of July. Information can be submitted to the following telephone numbers. That is 0112 421867 and 076 3477 342. The numbers once again 0112 421867 and 076 3477 342. And that came to you in Watchlight.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
Headlines of the world news. Putin says Russia will allow inspectors at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. The U.S. announces $775 million additional military assistance for Ukraine. Islamists kill 10 in Somali hotel. Those are the headlines, and now more to the details of the world news. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has said the UN officials will be granted permission to visit and inspect the Zaporizhzhia nuclear complex. The Kremlin made the announcement after a call between Mr. Putin and French President Emmanuel Macron. It came as claims of fighting near the plant continued, with 4 civilians reportedly injured by Russian shelling. Separately, the U.S. pledged yesterday to send more arms and ammunition to assist in Ukraine's war effort. In a readout following all the calls between the French and the Russian leader, the Kremlin said. The U.S. government has announced additional military aid for Ukraine valued of up to $775 million. Officials said yesterday that the package will include ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems known as HIMARS, 16 howitzers along with 36,000 rounds of the artillery and high-speed anti-radiation missiles that target radar systems. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the courage and strength of Ukraine's military and its people are extraordinary, and the United States will continue to provide additional systems and capabilities for Ukraine. Security officials say 10 people have been killed after Al-Shabaab militants stormed a hotel in the Somali capital Mogadishu. Police said attackers detonated 2 explosives outside the hotel before entering the building and opening fire. They were reported to be holed up onto the top floor of the Hotel Hyatt hours after the attack began. A special police unit is said to have rescued dozens of guests and staff from the hotel. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Putin says Russia to allow inspectors at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. U.S. announces $775 million additional military assistance for Ukraine. Islamists kill 10 in the Somali hotel. That was the world news, and now let's move on to development news. 2.7 billion rupees has been allocated for irrigational and agricultural development projects in the Galle district. 230 families in the district will be benefited through the implementation of these projects. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports news, Sri Lankan para-athlete Janani Dhananjana has clinched the gold medal in the women's long jump at the 4th Indian Open National Para-Athletics Championship for the year 2022 in Bangalore, India. Her empowerment falls under the T47 classification, which is for athletes with movement affected at the low to moderate degree in one arm or the absence of limbs. Dhananjana secured the gold medal by jumping the best distance of 5.01 meters and 690 points. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka para-athlete Kumada Priyankara won the silver medal in the same event under the T46 classification by jumping 4.71 meters. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Commercial Credit and Finance PLC reported a profit after tax of 4.52 billion rupees for the financial year ending 31st March 2022, a 93.6% growth compared to the previous year. This growth was mainly fueled by the 32.3% increase in the net interest income and a 67.5% increase in the fee and commission income and 82.2% increase in the other operating income. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In economic news, coffee cultivation has been expanded in the Valapane Divisional Secretariat Division. The planning unit said that there is a high demand for coffee and cultivators will be encouraged to use organic fertilizer for the cultivation activities. That was economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And finally, the weather report, the Met Department says that shower condition is expected to enhance to some extent in the southwestern part, the Western Province, Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Matara districts from tomorrow. Showers will occur at times in the Western, Sabaragamuwa and Northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the Uva and Eastern Province during the evening or night. And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. IMF staff plan to visit Sri Lanka next week. The opposition leader is ready for discussions with the president. An extraordinary gazette notification relevant to the deployment of members of the armed forces released. Registration of farmers who cultivate maize for the Maha season this year and the next has already been implemented. A plan to establish mobile voting centers. In news overseas, Putin says Russia to allow the inspectors at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.